Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. Today, I'm doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with us a filmmaker. He's represented my indie productions. I have Todd Ernest, and he has an amazing anthology streaming right now, free on Tubi. It's called Psychotic Breakdown Anthology. Todd, welcome to the Horror Room, buddy.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, Travis. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to this.
Awesome. So, tell my viewers a little bit about Psychotic Breakdown Anthology.
Psychotic Breakdown Anthology actually came from, I had made a handful of short films, and I was trying to figure out how I could, because at the time you couldn't get short films on any kind of streaming platform because nobody was taking short films. Of course, now some of the streaming channels do take short films, but at the time, I was trying to put together something to be able to take these short films and just get them out there for people to watch. And one of the guys that I had been working with had mentioned, he says, well, why don't you just take and piece them all together? He says, because they're all long enough that you could get, at least 75 to 80 minutes out of it. So I literally, I literally just put them all together. It was Kill Show, Rain, my homage to Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, and then my mob movie, The Confession. And I literally just put them together, and we actually got it on without any kind of wraparound story or anything. And then we originally called it Women in Horror, since they were all female lead characters. And then Psychotic Breakdown came when I was like, you know what, we need to. I'd like the name of the project to be a little bit more scary. And my buddy came up with the idea of, well, why don't we call it like Psychotic something? And we came up with Psychotic Breakdown. And then I was talking to my buddy Ty Guberman. Now that was probably 3 years ago. And I was talking to my buddy Ty earlier this year. He said, it'd be cool if you could do something to put like a wraparound story on that and make it look more like something like Creepshow. And so I sat and thought about it, and my wife was I just told her, I said, hey, Ty came up with this idea about doing a wraparound story. I said, I'm trying to think, and my wife is pretty good at coming up with ideas. So I just said, Angie, I said, this is what we're doing, and I need some ideas. And literally within seconds, she comes back and she goes, well, since the name of it is Psychotic Breakdown, she goes, what if you had a psychiatrist that was moving along in her career, quote unquote, and she's passing the torch to another one, and basically she talks about each one of these women as if they were her patients.
That's genius.
Yeah. So I said, okay, well, let's go ahead, figure it out, sit down. The script wrote itself for the wraparound stories. It was kind of scary. And then I actually, I cast the roles. Alexandria Allerheiligen, I always have a hard time saying that. She played the new incoming psychiatrist, and then Rhonda Williams played the psychiatrist on her way out. And so yeah, and we shot that whole sequence here in my studio. I just hung up. I have these 4 black king size sheets that that I sewed together a few years ago, and I just hold on to them when I need them. And we literally draped them around the exterior of the garage of my garage studio, and went over to the local thrift store. My wife found those chairs. We bought a table, a lamp, and yeah, we shot the whole thing in one day. And and then I spent the next few weeks putting it together, because I did go back through each one of the films and I fixed audio. Some of the music cues I wasn't happy with, and so I changed those. So I went back and fixed all of them and then pieced everything together. But I also had a thought in my head when I was shooting how the beginning of each one of the films, we got into it, whether there was a dolly shot that moved in or a pan that went left or right. So I made sure that because we weren't showing any opening credits to speak of on each one of the stories, I wanted to make sure we were going to be able to transition into them to kind of feel seamless. And so that's what we did. So,
and I was telling you in the pre-interview, like the first story was definitely my favorite. It follows he wants to be a clown, basically.
Yeah. It was that particular story. My youngest daughter, who's actually getting ready to have a baby here in the next couple weeks, when she was in high school at the time, and she was probably, I think, 16 or 17 at the time, and she actually came up with we had both kind of come up with the story, and she had been doing acting for me in like TV commercials that I shot here locally and stuff since she was probably, I don't know, a year old. And as she got older, acting for her was just, it was easy. I mean, she never took any classes. All I had to do was say, "Hey, I want more energy here," or "Do me a favor and act like you're mad here, or act like you're sad here," and she was just, the kind of acting that some actors wish they could just do.
Yeah.
And anyway, she had a bad day at school one day, and she had basically told me we did this television series that I showed on local television here. I bought airtime, called Surviving the Undead, and she was one of the lead actors in it. Because we shot this show, we literally shot an episode per weekend, and it was a half-hour episode. And after we got done with that, because it took us about 6 months to get it done, she just told me, she goes, "Dad, don't ask me to do any more acting. I'm all." And I said, "Okay, all right, cool." I just, which sucked because I had so many more things I wanted to put her in. And she got in the car one day, and she was having a bad day at school, and she got in the car and she slammed the door, and she goes, "If you ever come up with an idea for like a teenage serial killer," she goes, "I'm going to do it." And I just kind of laughed, and I said, "Well, remember that photo shoot that we did a couple of weeks ago where she had done that clown makeup, and she had disappeared. Sometimes she would do that. I was always kind of hoping she'd get into like special effects makeup and stuff like that, because she was really good at it. And she came out of the bathroom. She disappeared one night. My wife and I were watching TV, and she disappeared. And I'm like, "Brienne, what are you doing?" And she comes back out, and she's dressed as this scary ass clown. And she's dressed, she's got blood. She put blood on her shirt and everything. I went, "Holy shit, hold on a second." I ran out in the garage. I grabbed my camera and came back in. I said, "All right, photo shoot." So we literally ran around the house for like an hour just taking all of these pictures, which we wound up using for Kill Show, when it was just the short film by itself, we used some of those pictures as different posters. And then I said, I had this idea for that clown makeup that you did a couple of weeks ago. And so from the time I picked her up from school till the time I got home, which was about 10 minutes, we had the whole movie figured out. So I just sat down and typed it out, and then we shot it. And now it's a part of the Psychotic Breakdown. And that's kind of how that came to be.
Now, I must ask you a question without giving away anything.
Mhm.
Was it tough as a father to have your daughter in that role, and it was such a traumatic scene in that story?
It was tough because there had been a couple instances when she was in school where I'm not going to say something similar happened, but something that stuff that really bothered her. But of course, I didn't know about it until months after we finished the film, that she said, yeah, somebody, pushed me up against the door and blah, blah, blah. So that one part in the movie where you see that one dude when she was at the party do that, something similar like that happened. And so she kind of used that. It wasn't hard to do because I had directed her in so much different stuff. And she was kind of gothy anyway. She was steering in that direction. And and she's always had a fascination. She almost became a whole bunch of things, but she actually, here locally, she went and did an internship at a morgue.
Really?
Or at a what do you call it? Not a morgue. A funeral home. And she did an internship at this funeral home, and so she was just never bothered by this stuff, And so for me, it was kind of one of those things that it was. I just had to direct her a little bit. Do me a favor. I need you just to cry here a little bit. And like the mirror shots where you see her looking into the mirror, and I actually attached a GoPro to the bathroom mirror. So when you see her like screaming and shaking her head and the tears are streaming down her face, that wasn't, I just said, do me a favor. I need you to cry here. Can you do this? And I just literally, I sat on the bathtub just about, 3 feet away from her. And I'm just telling her, okay, do this. Okay, now scream. Okay, now give me some tears. And it was just, she just did it. Was it rough? I'm just going to say no, because she could just do it so well. And again, I didn't know about some of her own personal issues until down the road, which then, of course, it bothered me. But at the time we were doing it, it was not a big deal, because she's such a great actress that I'm kind of sad that she never pursued that. Of course, it always came down to, I just did that for you, Dad.
Yeah. No.
So anyway, that's I know that particular one. That's kind of how that came about, and then the rest of them, they were just short films that I had ideas for, and I sat down and I wrote them. I always had, for like The Confession, even though that's not necessarily a horror film, I just kind of thought, because of the attitude of the female hitman, that she, it reminded me of when James Gandolfini was in True Romance. And when he was talking to Alabama in the bedroom after he caught her and beat the snot out of her, and then he's talking about the first time you kill somebody, and I just thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to have somebody kind of, I always wanted to make a mob movie, and this is about as close as I could get to it. And so I just thought it'd be cool to have this hitman talk about their existence. And when I was talking to some friends, one of them, she said, what about a female hitman? I said, well, they exist. And she goes, well, can I play him or play her? And I went, well, and I had done another project with Lacey before, and I said, yeah, let's shoot a little piece of it and see what happens. And Lacey nailed it. She nailed it. She had those looks. Yeah, she did. She really did a good job. I was really happy with that. So that was kind of my take on a mob movie with a female hitman that works for the Carfano family. Boy, and it was hard digging up Italian last names that hadn't already been used.
But it's pretty interesting, as a male filmmaker, that you gave in this anthology, in each story you gave women the lead roles, and that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
No, I would say that's pretty incredible.
Well, it's kind of weird. Growing up in my whole life, I never got along with guys. I never did guy things. When I was growing up, I'm 58 years old. I'm maybe 59 in February. And growing up, when everybody else was into cars, I was into music. And I was, I was a DJ when I turned right in between my 15th and 16th birthday. I became a DJ. And I always got along with women better than I did with guys because I didn't work on cars. I didn't care about sports. I was interested in movies. I was interested in music. And not that women as a DJ, I mean, women and DJing came later in my existence. But I just always got along with women better than I did. Or maybe it was easier for me to hold a conversation with women than it was with guys because I was interested in music. I was interested in film and stuff like that. And there just weren't, growing up, most of the guys in my neighborhood, they were into cars, they were into bikes, they were into motorcycles, they were into sports, and I just didn't care. Plus where I live here in Grand Junction, Colorado, you've got 140 or 150,000 people that live in this area. There's only this many actors that are any good or that are stage actors. And so it's not necessarily that I always wanted to have women play these parts. With my daughter, that was a given. She got in the car, she was mad, she wanted to be a serial killer. Boom, there's a movie. Yeah, check that one off. And then with the conversation or the confession, Lacey said, "Why can't it be a woman?" And I'm like, well, why not? So that was born out of that. When it came to the Raven, I was actually had planned on doing several versions of new, like kind of pseudo updated versions of some of Poe's stuff. And after I did the Raven, it really made the rounds. I mean, people were bugging me always about it. Oh my gosh, that's so good! It's so good. When reality, there are parts of it that I like, and there are parts of it that I'm not super happy with. But obviously Lenore, that's got to be a female, but nobody's ever, kind of tied the whole story together as having a mother and a daughter. Not that I know of anyway, so I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. Especially after Netflix Fall of House of Usher, bitch,
I know,
and
right?
shit. Oh my god. So anyway, but I was going to do, a series of different things, and I just thought it would be interesting to create this mother-daughter relationship in the context of Pose the Raven. And so that's kind of how that came about. And we shot that whole thing in 5 hours because the location the location that we had, that's the time we got.
So you had to do what you had to do.
Yep. So I had a team of some of my film crew buddies. They're guys that are not necessarily filmmakers, but they all love helping me make movies. So I just called them up. I had 4 or 5 guys, and I just said, "Here's what's going to happen. This is what I'm shooting. This is where we're going, and I need you guys to not do anything except follow me around this place." And we literally started on the second floor, out on the balcony, and did the whole thing in reverse. So we shot the ending, and then we shot the middle, and then we shot the beginning, with the exception of the shots of the house on the outside. I did that before everybody got there. So yeah, we shot that in 5 hours, and then there was the photo shoot that we did with the 2 actresses, Heather and Elizabeth. We did that a couple days later, where you see the photographs that we have at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. We did that. And I was pretty proud of that. I was kind of sad that I didn't get to do some of the other ones that I wanted to do. I was going to do a version of The Pit and the Pendulum. And it was kind of funny when I was watching The Fall of the House of Usher, when I was watching their episode that involved the Raven. It was almost like I thought, you son of a bitches saw my movie, because they had the daughter in the background moving in different places. They cut back and she'd be standing somewhere else. And I thought, maybe
that's too close, right?
It was way too close. I mean, I got even mad that I was watching it. I'm like, you. And but I enjoyed it too much to even really after that. Yeah, it was an amazing show. So yeah, and then Rain, which is the last story, I had actually come up with that idea a long time ago. I'd been trying to get that movie made for probably before we shot it, because we shot it about 5 or 6 years ago. And I had been trying to get it made for about 5 years prior to that. And I went through a slew of different actresses. I mean, people that came on board and then tried to roll it, tried to get things moving along. And then they'd bail for one reason or another, or decide that they didn't want to do it, or decide they weren't going to be actors anymore. It was just, and so after I shot that Surviving the Undead, Kiera Hall was one of the lead actresses. Her and my daughter played sisters in that show. And I asked her about playing this role, because after she did Surviving the Undead, she had decided, she hadn't acted before. And so she was like, I want to do some more acting. I really want to do this. And so I said, okay, well, I got this movie that I want to do. Are you interested in having the lead? I said, you literally are carrying the entire movie. I said, there's a little bit of something with somebody at the beginning, and the rest of it is all you. And she said, yeah, I think I can do it. I said, take the script home, read it, and get back to me in a couple of days. And excuse me, she got back to me that night and she goes, yeah, I really want to do this. I said, Kiera, take a couple of days and read the script. I know you're excited. I'm not going to give it to anybody else right now. So yeah, just read the entire script. And so she took a couple of days, read it a few times, and then got back to me. And I always thought, I didn't really realize that there was a thing called ombrophobia, which is a fear of the rain. And when I found out it was actually a thing, I was really excited because I had come up with the idea, but I didn't realize that there was that it was
a legit thing.
It was a legit issue.
Yeah.
And so so writing it was pretty easy, especially, it's a fear of the rain. So you take the rain, you add what happened to her because of that would make her scared of the rain, scared of thunder, scared of lightning. And so, again, without spoiling, I took that and ran with it. And we shot that. I think that took us 6 days to get done. We did 2 days in the house with no rain in July and no air conditioning in the house. And
how did you make that work?
It was a lot of do a couple of takes and then open. I'm not kidding you, Travis. It was probably 105 in this house. And but it was a mobile home that some friends of mine, Jerry and Charlene Gaddy, had given us and told us we could use it because they had renters in there and they had moved out and they were just going to sell the house. And I said, hey, can I use that place? Oh, well, yeah, we were just going to go ahead and sell it. And so I said, well, can I have it for a couple of days? And so we shot in 2 days in the middle of July.
Baking.
That was a dumb idea. but so yeah, we shot a couple of days in the house. And then because the weather in Colorado is so bipolar, about a week later, we had a slew of rainstorms. And so I went back over while it was sprinkling and raining, and some of the rain is fake. You could probably tell, being a film guy, you could probably tell the difference between real rain and fake rain. But not everybody can. And so I went back over there, I got, my buddy took his drone over there and we got a couple of drone shots that we used for the opening credits and stuff like that. And then I ran around. I had been running around for like 2 years. So a lot of those shots where you see dark clouds, where you see the wind blowing, there's a shot that I have that's like a low up angle on a street light and the water is falling off the street light. I took a GoPro and just laid it on the ground and laid it there for 30 seconds while it was raining. And because, GoPros are waterproof. Yeah. So I had all of this rain footage. And I think out of all of the footage that has weather in it, there were only 2, maybe 3 shots that I got that were stock footage. And that was it. The rest of it was running around for 2 years prior. Just anytime it was raining, I'd just go grab my camera.
Rain shots.
That's exactly what I did. So yeah, that's kind of pretty much how all of those stories kind of came together. And then when when Atai gave me the idea of, why don't you do this wraparound story, then it kind of all fell into place. So I was pretty lucky that I had some halfway decent stories. And I know Rain is is a little bit long. And a lot of people that have reviewed it have said, it's a slow burn, but it's worth the wait, which I still, even after I cut Psychotic, got it done, got it out there, it got on Amazon Prime, got on Tubi and a handful of other streaming. I watched it and I'm going, God, I could have cut it there. I could have made it even a little bit shorter.
I think it was perfect, to be honest, because Kill Show was I think the best one to start off with, because it was quick, fast. It started the tempo to me. And no, I think it was. I didn't lose interest at any point. I think the tempo was definitely on par. Now, awesome. I do have a question for you. So you started off in the music industry. Music is still a part of your life. How did you transition from that to, doing TV shows to doing horror movies? I grew up. My dad was a union carpenter. And I've always had interest in music. When I was a kid, I had a record player, and I just, my mom, sometimes we'd go to the thrift store, and I would pick records, and I didn't even know what they were. I would pull records out, and she would buy them because they were, 5 cents or whatever. And take them home and listen to them. And I always watched TV. I was always watching, I grew up with stuff, a lot of Sid and Marty Krofft, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, H.R. Puffin stuff, and, stuff like that. And that had a lot of music in it too. So I just always liked music. And then as far as the DJ thing goes, that was an accident. A buddy of mine, his girlfriend was having her Sweet 16 birthday party, and he wanted to throw this party. And so I had a turntable, he had a turntable. We went collectively to the store, to Radio Shack, and bought a mixer that you could get from them for like $80. And that was, what was that, 1981, I think it was. And that was a lot of money back then. And we bought that mixer, and I DJ'd, and we kind of took our records that we had. I took a bunch of my records that I had. He had a bunch of his records, and I DJ'd this party. And when it was over, people were coming up, because I'm as a DJ, I always tried to be an MC as well. And so I was kind of one of those guys that would get on the mic and tell people to yell and tell people to scream, and excuse me. And so it was just kind of one of those things. I was already making movies. My grandmother gave me a Super 8 film camera when I was 12 years old, and it literally was a box. I mean, I'm going to say no bigger than my phone. Mm-hmm. And I made this movie. I made a bunch of movies with this Super 8 camera, and so I was making little movies and started DJing. And after this party, people came up and were asking me, "Hey, do you have any business cards? I want to." My brother's having a birthday party here in a couple of weeks, and we need a DJ and blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of how I fell into that. And then my mom also worked for the McDonald's Corporation at the production
facility that they have in the City of Industry in Southern California. They call them a McDonald's production store, and basically it was a McDonald's, and that's where they shot 80% of the TV commercials that were on television. So when you saw a McDonald's commercial, my mom was the production manager for them for about 7 years. And I got to meet so many people, but I was also in the heat of my DJing. And because girls were really becoming a thing with the DJing stuff, I had a lot of film opportunities that I kick myself in the ass to this day that I didn't take people up on, because I probably could have been a lot further. Everything happens for a reason. That's what my mother always told me. So yeah, I can say coulda, shoulda, woulda, but whatever was meant to be was meant to be. But I had opportunities that I passed on because playing music and picking up girls were
like most young guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But then as far as horror movies, my first real horror movie that I saw was Phantasm. And amazing. Yeah. And that scared the ever living dog shit out of me. I mean, that, and then, I saw that, and then I saw The Exorcist on television when it was the first time they showed it on CBS. And, I got the severely watered down version of that movie, and it still scared the crap out of me. I didn't sleep for a week. A handful of like really weird things happened in my house after we watched that, which I then turned into a project I'm trying to get still working on trying to get some more funding for, which is Shadows of the Night, which my buddy Ty Guberman from My Indie Productions has helped me with with the script. But the whole horror movie thing, I always enjoyed action films, and I really enjoyed horror movies. So it was kind of one of those things when the whole digital age started falling into place, when the video cameras were not $50,000 to buy anymore, that you could get a video camera for $400. I really just dove in. I mean, if I had some lights on and could turn the camera around, you'd see that my setup, I've got C-stands and, crates and monitors and lighting. And I mean, I've got all this stuff. So, I mean, and it became more affordable. I was like, okay, give me this, give me this, give me this, give me this, give me this. Everything. Yeah. I just kind of bought things as I could get it, when I had $400. Okay, what can I buy with this? Okay, I'm going to buy this. So I decided at one point, I'm like, okay, I really need to do something as far as a feature is concerned, because I had done enough short films, started getting my feet wet again. I took directing classes. I took Saturday classes at the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena for a couple of years. And then, but my grades weren't good enough to get into the school, so I only got Saturday classes. It's like, hey, I've been going to your school for 2 years, but you're not going to let me in because I got C- in English. So,
acting.
What's that?
No, I said, well, what is that going to? What is English going to do with acting? I mean,
Yeah. Exactly. English isn't going to help me direct an actor. So anyway, it was just kind of one of those things that when I decided, I'd made enough short films, it was time to do a feature. That I came up with an idea of a young girl who's being bullied quite a bit and winds up coming across and making friends with a dormant serial killer. and he and his associate basically say, okay, you got these girls that have been picking on you. Do you want to get back at them? Here's how. And so we made that movie. I think that was 6 or 7 years ago now. It was called Misfit. And that's when I kind of delved back into the horror thing, to really try to do something. And because I'm an older school guy, I grew up with, Texas Chainsaw and Halloween, obviously. You're a Halloween fan as well. But if you recall in the original Texas Chainsaw, there really wasn't any blood.
None at all.
People will tell you that it's gory as hell. And there's literally, that's because their brain filled in the blanks. And I really
Halloween too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They didn't show hardly anything. And so I just kind of had that mentality when I went into making Misfit. There's a handful of things that I gave you a little bit of gore, but nothing that's Terrifier. But I just wanted to do something that was kind of old school, so I didn't do a lot of editing. I didn't do a lot of cuts. When I would shoot some of the scenes, even now with like even when we shot Kill Show, I had 4 cameras running on my daughter in the bathroom. I had one over her shoulder. I had one that was, waist to head. I had one that was in here. And then I had one that was following her hands around. So, I learned because of The Shield, from the FX show, The Shield, I learned how to shoot with multiple cameras without seeing anybody. And so I just decided to try to expedite things. I would shoot multiple cameras. And so when we did Misfit, that's what we did. But that also gives you the opportunity to have these takes that maybe you don't cut away from a character like that. I've made music videos, but I didn't want to edit this one like a music video. So I went with longer takes, without cutting. I didn't show as much. There's things that are happening, but there's a section where Stitches, who's the main character, she's taking a Roman Omatic gives her, who is the serial killer, gives her a like a surgical kit that has scalpels and all kinds of things in it. And she takes out this one deal that's literally like a long needle. And she takes it and she puts it, taking it down to the toe of this victim. And she looks like she's putting the needle in between her toenail and pushing it into her toenail. Never showed the needle going to here and then cut away. And the audience just freaked out when we showed it publicly, man. I mean, the first 3 rows were just like, oh, and all that stuff. And I'm like, see, God damn it still works. You don't have to show everything.
Sometimes less is better. It really is.
And
leave it
and
up to
that's
the audience's imagination.
well, and I think that's the problem that filmmakers don't give the audience enough credit to be able to do. I mean, they've done that. Hollywood's done that their whole existence. I mean, we could, especially when you look at stuff that's been done over the last 15 years, they just don't give their audience any kind of credit for having a brain. It's like we have to tell you everything. We have to show you everything. The exposition, there has to be tons of exposition. No, you don't. You don't have to tell everything. And that is, I think that's for me as a older filmmaker. I think that's the biggest problem I just have with a lot of stuff that's coming out these days. And everybody just wants to be gory, and nobody wants to tell a story. You know what I mean? So
there's no character. There's absolutely no character development at all.
Zero. I mean, even if you look back at the old Friday the 13th, like my favorites for Friday the 13th are 1, 2, 3, and 4. And even then, but even those had character development. We knew who the people were. So when they started getting offed, we gave a shit.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, oh, he was kind of a dick, but
he didn't deserve it. That he didn't deserve that much. Yeah,
exactly. So, I just really kind of feel, and I've really tried after I saw Heat, Michael Mann's Heat. I always thought that, you know what, when it came to some of my extended projects, that I feel like people because in Heat, everybody had an existence. Everybody on Pacino's side, you knew they were married, they had kids, everybody had an existence. And then on De Niro's side, everybody that was in his crew had an existence. So even when at the big shootout at the end of the movie, people start dropping over you. Oh crap. It wasn't like Die Hard. It's like, yeah, kill that.
You felt bad for Tom Sizemore. Yeah. You felt bad for even I was rooting for what's his face? Robert De Niro. I was like, he can make it to the plane. Come on. And he's the bad guy. And I was cheering for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just kind of thought I've always tried to keep that mindset when I'm going into my features about making sure. And I've had a couple of people tell me, you know what, you really should cut this out and cut this out. And I said, oh yeah, you mean cut all the part about the character development and the parts just because you don't have the fucking patience to wait an extra 10 minutes to get to that part.
But I love a good, slasher movies every once in a while, but and they're fun. They have their place. They're fun, but to build a whole series off of that, or as a director, make your whole career off of that, people are going to get bored. I'm assuming people are going to get bored because it was even 20 years ago, 10, 20 years ago, there was a whole genre of horror that was called a torture porn, which Terrifier is one of them now. It's brought it back, but people got tired of that because it was no character development. It was all of these Expendables characters that's put in there and just getting killed in gruesome ways over and over again. Mm-hmm. And yet you're like, but it wasn't like, oh my goodness, that's Sally getting killed. Sally is aspiring to be an actress and she knows 3 different languages and you don't know nothing about Sally.
Right. And that's, I just think and all you young filmmakers out there, listen to the boomer, we do know a little bit. And I think that I just feel like take the time to work on even it doesn't have to be miles and miles of dialogue. You can accomplish that in a couple of sentences, to develop, to do any kind of character development. And I don't understand. I don't know. I guess it's just, I finally, when you start getting older, you start thinking, God, am I really going to turn into Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino?
Well, I'm 41 years old, and my taste in horror has changed over time. I've said that in my previous interview, but my my taste in horror has changed. Like
Mhm.
I need more of a story now to keep my interest.
Well, and I think it's important to have those stories, to be able to have that character development. I did a dramatic, kind of a dramatic faith-based film a couple of years ago called "You Like to Draw." Here, I'm going to do a shameless plug here. The Blu-ray that's available, and I found that in writing this story about this young woman, and I know it doesn't have anything to do with horror, but I'm trying to make a point.
Yes.
That about this narcissistic wannabe Instagram influencer who becomes a caregiver for somebody for a young woman that has a traumatic brain injury, who was once an artist, but because of her cell phone usage while driving is now in a place where she can't be an artist anymore. And it was kind of one of those things that, as I was putting this together, I really wanted to be able for people to really dislike the Instagram girl, but then to go through, and I really learned really well on that project how to do character arcs and take people, be able to create that story and have you dislike somebody at the beginning, but then as you're going through the story, oh, okay, well, I guess she's learning and becoming somebody who's a little bit more, who's starting to care about somebody other than herself. And so it's and that was one of the things that a lot of people said about that movie. They were just like, wow, I couldn't stand her at the beginning, but then she got better, and she became more likable. And so, I mean, and you can do that with horror. It's just like you said, Sally wanted to be an actress, and oh shit, Sally's gone.
Yep.
So it's possible to do, and it's okay to do. Nobody's gonna hate you because you have some character development. So I just really think that younger filmmakers just need to put away your ego and cut with the arrogance and just start thinking a little bit more about what you want to show your audience. If you just want to make a balls out, Terrifier torture thing, then, write your 3 pages of script and then go. But it's okay to give a little bit of character development within a horror film, because it's not going to kill you. They've done it all the time. Go back to The Exorcist.
Because I mean, I watched a horror film recently. I can't even tell you what it was off the top of my head, but like I remember there was a victim, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, I just graduated." She was about to graduate from college, and she was like, "I have this whole life above me, and this and that." Boom, she's dead. She gets murdered. And I was like, wow, that sucks. Like, she was about to graduate from college. Like, it
felt bad for her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it, man. It's just one of those things.
Compared to that same woman, if she just came on the screen, you don't tell me nothing about her. She's just going into the shower, going in, getting naked, going in the shower, and gets murdered. It's like, okay, all right, she got killed. All right.
Okay, that was
I don't know who this person is.
Don't know, don't care.
Exactly.
5 through 10.
I just got to see some titties and some blood. Yeah, okay, that's nice.
Yes!
Yes! And guess what? I I love some titties and some blood every once in a while, but not all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that was growing up. That was a lot of the super B movies, or even
Yeah, the
C movies.
Trauma and the Full Moon.
Yeah. Well, you know what though? Full Moon, I'm really disappointed in Full Moon now, but Full Moon in the day, back in the 80s, man. I mean, they gave us stuff like Subspecies and the
Puppet
Subspecies
Master,
Puppet Master. I have
the Model
all of Puppet
Toys.
Master.
I
Yep.
grew up. I grew up in the 80s, and I used to go. My parents go to video store because they were big. They introduced me to horror as long as, and we would get all the Full Moon videos. That's what we would watch. Basket Case and all that stuff, and like, it was an era that's gone now.
Yep. Well, I just think, again, if young filmmakers would just take a little bit of extra time to work on their scripts, and even if your dialogue blows, if you can at least make people care about your characters even this much.
It just takes this much to feel sorry for Sally getting killed.
Exactly. And then that people can even overlook your bad lighting or your bad camera angles or whatever, as long as the story. I mean, even with me, I mean, I look at some stuff, and some filmmakers, I look at their stuff and I just roll my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, what the were you thinking about putting the camera? And if the story sucks, then the whole thing for me is just like, okay, I can't click. I'm all done with this. But if the story is compelling, even if the acting isn't great, even if the camera shots aren't amazing, I'm still going to be, as long as you got a story that sucks you in, because I mean, you mentioned Basket Case, I still cringe at that movie, but I'll never not watch it.
Yes.
If I see it somewhere, I'll watch it. No problem. I got Basket Case. Boom. I'm watching it. So I'm with you on that. So yeah, I just feel that if you just develop your characters just a little bit,
listen. At the end of the day, listen. I always say it's not Oscar. When I go to see horror, I'm not looking for an Oscar award, actors, acting, and all. I just need just this little teeny tiny pinch of who are these victims? Who are these characters? Make me want to see them survive.
Root for them to survive, even though they're probably going to get killed.
Yes. Or give me a character that I fucking hate and I don't want to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. What's his name? What was that in Halloween, or not Halloween? Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. What was the dude? The computer dude who Ted.
Yes.
Yeah. He was such a piece of shit.
You couldn't wait.
Yeah. And then when he got his, you were like, thank God,
Yes.
But he wasn't nameless. He wasn't faceless. We knew who he was. We knew that he was kind of a dick. So that's character development right there. So
that's my biggest complaint. Listen, I enjoyed Terrifier 2. By the way, I always had to say this. I enjoyed Terrifier 2, but Terrifier 1 was a piece of crap to me because it was literally from beginning to end. There was no character development. There was no anything. It was literally just obstacles put in an Art the Clown way for him to kill in gruesome ways. And I can only watch that but so much before I cut it off because I'm bored.
Right. Right.
I'm bored.
Well, and that was a buddy of mine actually put money into their crowdfunding for the first Terrifier movie. And so he got, he wound up with a couple of Blu-rays, and he sent me one. I'd never even heard of this thing. I didn't know what it was, but he sent me the Blu-ray of the first Terrifier movie. And I stuck it in and I'm watching it. and I was just like,
Yeah.
what the actual is this? And he was like, my buddy got a hold of me, my buddy Tim. He says, man, he says, dude, what'd you think of that, man? Wasn't that awesome? Wasn't that awesome? I'm like, it was all right. I said, there was no storyline. I said, the script must have been about 9 pages long.
There was no story at all. I mean, like literally no story
Nope.
at all. It was just literally
Yeah.
just different individuals put in his way and killed like for 2 hours long, which was way too long.
Way too long. And Terrifier 2 was even way too long.
But I give, listen, Terrifier 2 leaps and bounds over Terrifier 1. I enjoyed Terrifier 2. Still not my cup of tea, but I enjoyed it way more than I did the first one. Because, I mean, at least there was a story and they did do some character development. I guess they probably heard the complaints from, a lot of the people. And they put some kind of story together and some kind of character development. You did care about at least 2 of the characters, in that movie. So, but Terrifier 1, I wasn't attached to anybody. I didn't know who they were. No one. It was like, okay, a janitor is coming in. He gets murdered. Okay, here comes a pest guy. Murder. Like, it was like,
pizza guy gone.
Pizza guy murder. It was like, well, who the hell are these people? Anyway, Todd, how can everyone find you, my friend?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I am Todd Ernest Braley on Facebook. Instagram, I am Todd Braley. Braley is spelled Braley. And I really don't do any other social media other than those 2. And just because I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I post things when I need to post things, and Halloween was a big deal for me. So, but I just, if you want to find any of my movies, I have 5 movies that are on Tubi, and that's the best place to watch because Tubi is amazing. That's the best place to watch. So if you just type my name, Todd Braley, into the search, the 5 movies I have on there are Misfit, Psychotic Breakdown, my Jaws documentary that I did about Jaws fans called Jaws Fanatics, a dramatic film I did called Silence. It's about a woman who is sexually assaulted and the things that happened to her and her circle of friends because of it. And then You Like to Draw, that DVD there, that Blu-ray that I showed you here a few minutes ago. So if you go on there, that's how you can find me on there. Outside of that, we got more stuff coming. I got a movie called The Chip, which is kind of a thriller that's going to be on Tubi here pretty soon.
I saw the advertisement for that. Looks good.
I'll send you a link.
Okay, perfect.
You can watch it, and that's pretty much how you find me. So thanks a lot for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
It's no problem, and thanks to Itai for connecting us too.
Yeah, thanks, Itai Guberman. That's how come I sported my Indie Productions shirt.
My Indie Productions. Those guys over there rock. Those guys over there rock.
Yeah, if you go to My Indie Productions if you want to find some more information on me, look under go to myindieproductions.com, look under artists, and I think I'm in the second row down. And you can click on my picture, and it has all of my projects. It has all of the links available to go to any of my projects, and the different streaming links and stuff that they're available on. And I have stuff too. I have a lot of my short films on sparktv.com. So look that up, and yeah, there you go. That's me.
By the way, your page on My Indie is so amazing because, like you said, all you do, you have all your projects, you click on it, and it sends you straight to Tubi, straight to your movie. It's amazing.
Yeah. Itai does a hell of a job with My Indie Productions, man, and I think that more people need to get over there and look that up. He charges little bit of money a month to maintain those pages, but I'll tell you what, man, that's better than any website, personal website I've ever put together. I stopped. I deleted all of my website stuff, and I just use my indie for all of my projects now. So yeah, that's a great resource. So find Itai Guberman and My Indie Productions and talk to him and get your own page.
Yes, and also too, go on my channel and watch my interview with Itai Guberman. It's a great interview.
Yeah. It's an awesome interview. Awesome interview. So you do a hell of a job, Travis. Pat yourself on the back.
Thank you, my friend. Well, everyone, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. Get over to Tubi, by the way, and check out Todd's work. Psychotic Breakdown Anthology is amazing. Please check that out. This is coming from me, Travis. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.